In this video, I got a 1990 Chevy C3500. I guess you call it a cab and chassis truck. This one happens to have a bucket truck on the back, or a cherry picker, whatever you call that where you live. And the issue is, of course, as we can see, the paint. GM for several years had, I believe it was primer contamination, and let me get you closer here to show you what we're looking at. The paint literally falls off the vehicle, and of course, if you live in a climate like I do, rust starts, and nothing good comes of that, because we don't need any help, because the salt will eat it alive. So the object of this is to, and to give you a little backstory, those front fenders are new. I had painted them just with spray cans and standard paint, and they have even lost their paint down to the metal due to having no clear coat over top. And of course, the clear coat is what gives you the UV protection. So that's why those aren't rusty and not falling off like the rest. But still, the weather has taken its toll on them. So the object is to get a small area started, and that is the cab roof. And I want to put new lights, and I want to put LEDs. So to prepare for this job, I have already taken down the headliner card. It's basically just cardboard, basically, pressed board, real thin, because I had to take down where these holes are. You can probably see them easier from the inside. There were several holes, and they had taken that metal. There's two pieces of metal. There's one on the roof and one on the inside liner. They had taken those, put bolts through them. It used to have equipment mounted up there, and smushed them together. So the whole, this whole cab part up here was all dished in because it was made to smush down to the rest. So I have hit it from the inside, got it up there, and just put some temporary sealant in here so, till I can get back to it today. Also, there was another hole for where I removed an old antenna, and there was another hole over there where the black stuff is, and I don't know what that hole was from. But the object is to put these into LEDs and you know, get some of this vehicle started to be not peeling paint. In case I didn't explain why I took the headliner down, it's to get at the bolts that were in there, and also because the material had completely disassociated itself with that card. So I've got some new stuff for that. That'll probably be a separate video. So in order to make this video as complete as possible, all you have to do to get the headliner down, these are in these pockets up here. 3 screws, and the rest is just a bunch of push clips, like the Christmas tree fasteners. They just push up in there. They're all gonna break, or at least if yours is a 33-year-old truck like mine. Just rip them out, and then if they break off up in there, just take pliers and pull them. Do whatever you have to do to get those out. Only little thing I did put in, new LED lamp. It had the old standard lamp, and those are more efficient if you happen to leave your light on, and also brighter. So I don't know if I mentioned previously, but these holes, what they're going to get, I'm going to pull that sealant out of there, and I'm going to try to get a piece of metal welded in there. A little disc over there and over there. So I'm just going to strip the metal just in case, because the weather is cold, and I don't think it's going to rain today, but let's expose as little metal as possible until we can get the welding going. So I'm going to start by getting these prepped, go all around, and one of the most important things I have to do is protect my new seat that was seen in another video. Sure don't want to get any holes going in that. So I unfortunately forgot to bring my welding blanket, but I will bring other suitable protection, something to go over that, so if I drip a weld down there, which is inevitable, it won't go down on my seat. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. I'm going to take all these out of the way. There's no reason to damage them. even though I've got all new ones that are LEDs. The reason I'm replacing these is to upgrade to LEDs, but also the water droplets are getting in there, so you know that they're not water sealed anymore like they once were. So let's get those out of the way first, and then I can start grinding and doing what I gotta do. Alright, so those not familiar with these, as myself, how often do you take off cab lights? These ones just have 2 Phillips screws. They came stainless steel from GM, which is really good that they have lasted this long and have not rusted at all, which is beautiful. Inside there you'd have a standard lamp and a rubber gasket that both seals against the plastic and the body. And then to get this out, you squish it out of the rubber there. If my big fat hand wasn't in the way. Squish it out the back, and up comes this. And then you have 2 of those nut certs, I guess you'd call them. And then this can just kind of go down and away while I'm working. But some of them don't work out so good. When they've been in there a while, that one I pulled the entire nut cert out. This one I had to break the plastic because the screw stopped turning and the nut cert is spinning with it when I get a screwdriver on it. So be ready for some issues in case yours is as old as mine is. So my technique for getting that out of there, out of that nut cert, I grabbed the nut cert with like a side cutters because I could just barely get them on there, and then was able to get that screw out. It had a little corrosion at the bottom. The next one over, this one's pulled out, so I will just have to tap it back in there and possibly put a little sealant as I put it in the hole. All you got to do is prevent the light from lifting off the thing and getting enough squish for that gasket not to leak water into your cab. So not too challenging. Okay, bring you in here. This is the one that had the, on the passenger side, that had the black sealant over it. So I just got some change, and we're going to get an idea what the best size hole looks like. Penny. Dime ain't going to do it. Nickel's too big. And there's multiple ways you can do this. You could just bash that down, fill it with filler, and be done with it. I just want metal in there. I don't know why. Not really necessary. It's not structural. But anyway, so let's go penny size plug. So I just got some used scrap metal from somewhere. I don't throw away even the smallest pieces because this is exactly what you could use them for. Don't need to purchase new every time. I'm just going to make a little scratch so I get a general idea how big it is. Then I'm just going to cut it out with some, I'm trying these out. It's a compound action tin snip, and they're offset, so they go up at the end. I think that'll be handy to keep my hands away from the cut. Like a normal one, your hand gets into the cut, or at least if you use them like I do. So I'm going to try cutting it out, see what kind of luck we have. Alright, I got the piece cut out that I need, about the size of a penny. I've got this magnet holding it flat against the rest of the body. By the way, the metal I'm using is way thicker than it should be, but it's what I have, so that's what's going to be put on there. But basically I'm just going to little welds first, then remove the magnet, see if it's flat, just do little tiny welds, and see if I can get away with it. The part I'm intending to do is just the roof, and then luckily I have these little things to stop me, so I'll just go up to those, probably not including those, and then I got to go around to the back of the window. And to get started, I'll just take off this rubber molding. It just pulls off. Do that on both sides. Alright, we got some sun going now. Took me a while to get the welder going because I was out of wire. Didn't know that. Anyway, it's a lumpy weld. It's just little spots. I went around and kind of give it a little zzz, 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 zzz. Not a continuous weld. We don't need that much heat and we don't need that much weld. And so I'll clean that up later. All the brown stuff is just the coating that the wire feed. This is a this welder I'm using is a flux core wire, so it's not going to be a good clean looking weld like you would get with either a quality welder or a MIG welder, which would have shielding gas. This burns. As it burns, the shielding gas comes off. It makes its own. So that's what that brown stuff is. It's a lot of the residue. So I'll get the other areas prepped and get started. Back with you on the other side now. And I can see already that these holes, I've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 prepped, but they are smaller than a dime. So these are quite small. It's going to be a challenge to get the piece to sit in there, but we'll get it welded up. Alright, now I got all my holes filled. Very gloppy weld. These ones, I had 3 in a row. I took a sliver of metal underneath and slid it underneath all of those, in between the inner sheet and the outer sheet. So those are going to have to be filled with some filler. I put some weld there, some globs, just to build it up a little bit, but they're not going to be ground flat pure metal. They're going to need filler. This whole area is going to need filler because it was dented down quite badly from them bolting the top and bottom layer together, so no problem. Now it's a matter of just getting it flat, and for that I'm going to use a 80 grit flap disc, 4.5 inch. This one fits my grinder, and start taking it down. Alright, so that's how I'm going to leave them, ready for body filler. And that one over there, I still have to grind. Alright, now I'm just going to start, I guess at the edges, and work my way in and start removing all the paint, all the primer, all the rust, down to bare metal. Alright, I got you the shot here. The original tool I had to work with failed me, and I ended up having to go with a different tool, and now I have a million little gouge marks. Possibly you could see them, that primer's still wet. A million little gouge marks all over the place because I had to use a different tool than what I was going to use, and sort of created myself some work. But anyway, I had that down to absolute bare metal, 100%, and we're looking good. I put a black epoxy primer as the first coat just to get it rainproofed, I guess you'd say, because that's a thing right now. You can see some of the primer is a little shinier than others, and that's because it's epoxy and it's a bit cold, so it's going to take a little while for that to kick off. But now it's just a waiting game, and then I could put some filler in the places that it needed, and probably skim coat all my little hash marks all over the place. Just put a little bit of filler on those, and just show you the whole thing. We're in good shape. Just a matter of drying now. And oftentimes I'm asked what I used on the projects. This project I used Spray Max Epoxy Primer Black. It's a true 2-part epoxy, and you think it won't come in a can. Well, it does. It has a special nozzle. You put it there. As you push that pin in, you're activating the 2 parts together. Then you shake it up a couple minutes, and spray it. And it is a true 2-part epoxy, so that'll be a good base to put down. And then you could put body filler on top of that, or any other kind of sealers, or any kind of fillers, paint, everything on top of that. Alright, here's where we're at. I put 2 coats of high build filler primer, some people call it. This one just said filler on the can, to start with my leveling process, because I screwed it up with that other sander that dug into the metal. And as you can see, of course, still got to fill in all these and all the holes. There's actually a little dent there, and there's a dent on the back of the cab over there that I didn't know about previously, and of course the other hole, and some unevenness up here. So a lot of surprises when you start really touching the surface that you thought was flat, that may not be as flat as you once believed. So I'm just going to start putting a little body filler on and get some of that start drying, and then keep leveling it out. Alright, back out here with the Chevy full size, and what you're seeing is where I've sanded, that's the epoxy primer. There's 2 coats of high build filler, high build, spray, and then the other blue is filler. So I have fixed all my screw ups from the sanding with tools that I didn't want to sand with, but that's all I had. So I got it all taped off and ready for the final primer. So I'll put that on. Alright, for the primer I went with white primer, just because I'll get easier coverage with with the paint. Gray is good, beige is good. Probably wouldn't want to go black, but got good coverage with all the primer. Got a couple bugs running around on it right now, which isn't good. I got it all tacked off, and I'm going to go for the paint. There it is. I got the paint on. That is base coat, which is why it is a semi-gloss or flat, and more of a flat or a satin probably at the moment. And we will put some gloss, clear Spray Max 2K clear over that. There we have it. 2 thin coats of clear, just for anybody using that clear. If you do have it pretty smoothed out, 1 can will will do the whole roof. So this is what they call far from perfect, but perfect from far. Just right for this old truck. And just a quick note, in case anybody doesn't believe that this paint has to come off to be redone, here is where I tore my tape. That's automotive grade masking tape. Pulled the paint right off the other part of the cab. So as you can see, justified doing what I needed to do. Check out those LEDs. Wildwood certified. For those interested in the exact LEDs that fit this truck, and I did buy 2 different kinds to see which ones were the better ones, and these Parts AM were the better one out of the 2. The other ones, where the ridge goes into the rubber, it didn't even fit right. So I was like, well, why would you want that one? So I put the better of the 2 on. They do fit. Secondary information, the bolts that were in the truck are M5, and I did have to go shorter than what was there. I can't remember the millimeter. Were they 20s? Did have to go shorter with stainless steel bolts. Got her done. Wildwood certified.